Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 93, featuring Jigar, aka MetaVoxelz, an amazing 3D builder and architect, metaverse creator, and a longtime friend of the show, here for his fifth appearance to tell us about amazing builds he's creating on the Bitcoin blockchain. Welcome, Jigar. How are you doing today?
Hey, what's up? What's up? I'm excited. Fifth time, man, in 4 years. So, yeah, I definitely, like I said, I love coming here every time. It's something that has been like every time, like I do something new, I have some place to talk and to share my views and get feedback. And yeah, it's like I just what we were just talking a moment before this, that like in time, like whenever I want to look back to my journey, like how it's been, this show, this place, Web3 Warriors is always going to be the place I'm going to come back to look at how the thing happened, how everything started on the Web3 space for me. So
I'm
yeah,
happy to
it's
be
awesome.
tracking your creative journey there, Jigar. It's pretty exciting, and you're one of those who's definitely had their head down, kind of building in the metaverse, building on the blockchain, and just staying creative. And your passion for 3D building and for really just building and creating. You've got an actual Iron Man suit right behind you there, which maybe was part of the inspiration that started it all. I remember you telling that story on the very first time that we featured you. So definitely, it's an honor to be able to tell your story and to be able to track some of that. And we're actually looking at this year immutably putting all of our episodes on a blockchain that will support it. So more to come on that front. But yeah, all of these stories that we've been able to share on Web3 Warriors are going to be immutably on the blockchain, as well as, of course, our YouTube archives and our podcast archives and all that fun stuff. So welcome, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Web3 Warriors. My name is David Karoma. I go by Chrome in the metaverse, and I'm the host of the show. And this week, as we mentioned, I'm going to be talking with Jigar about Bitmap, which is a shiny new metaverse that's going to be launching for the Bitcoin blockchain specifically. And it also comes out of this new craze around inscriptions on the Bitcoin blockchain, also known as ordinals, and that's or BRC20s is another way that they're described, which is kind of a funny play on words, I assume, with ERC 720s and all of that. So it's really interesting, because really Bitcoin ultimately wasn't actually created for this level of programmability, but those degens and developers are always working on something and building new creative ways to use the blockchain technology. And I think Vitalik has actually praised them for some of the innovations. So it's really interesting to see. So we're going to be kind of mostly focusing on really the creative side of BRC20s, quote unquote, and Bitmap, and really the idea that it's creating new opportunities, right? And we're going to hear from Jigar about how, being able to inscribe new 3D creations on the Bitcoin blockchain has opened up new opportunities for him and been able to sell to a new market that maybe hadn't heard of him prior, So shout out to Kush and K-Bot in the chat. Appreciate you. Good morning, fellas. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's doing well who's joining us. If you do have any questions at all, as always, we do encourage thought-provoking questions in the chat. We even give away some free NFTs for good thought-provoking questions, so always want to encourage anyone to take part and ask any questions about what you might hear about today while we're chatting. So as I mentioned, really looking at BRC20s, and it's an interesting kind of innovation that's taken place. I guess it started early last year, pretty much, around the ordinals and Bitcoin, and it has led to a rush of investment, right? And so the theory is, I'm just going to wrap it up as kind of broadly as I can, and then maybe Jigar will be able to give us a little bit more clarity around it. But the theory is, Bitcoin being the OG blockchain, being the most decentralized, in many ways, the most immutable network that is not going anywhere, right? If we could inscribe tokens on this blockchain and make sure that they're actually just as integrated into the blockchain as a currency or like a piece of Satoshi, essentially, right? So you're taking pieces of information and actually attaching it to a Satoshi. Now, unlike Ethereum, that was created for the purposes of being programmable and supporting all kinds of different software functions and different things like that, Bitcoin is much more limited in its kind of functionality, right? So these inscriptions have to be quite small, They're very limited in size. The bigger that you go, the more expensive they're going to be to inscribe. And of course, they also require spending quite a bit of Bitcoin, which is expensive and often, goes against the ethos of what some in crypto might say. You never sell Bitcoin, you just hold your Bitcoin, you hodl for dear life. So that's kind of the conversation around Bitcoin. And I guess the idea that they've created these tokens, they've created these BRC20s, they've created these ordinals, inscriptions, which have very kind of like low resolution images on them because they can't be very high quality, but they've taken off, and there's all kinds of PFP projects that have come out on BRC20s. There's quote unquote shitcoins, that have been launched as BRC20 tokens and had all kinds of investment. And so there's a rush of speculation. There's a lot of people saying, this is the OG blockchain. So inscriptions on this blockchain aren't going to go anywhere and they're going to go up in value into the future. Now, whether the market is going to stay for the long term is debatable, just like on any other platform. I think, there's a lot of questions around what's going to happen to the NFT market. Is the immutability and the fact that, all of these digital assets are going to be there for the foreseeable future going to bring in more and more investment and more interest over time? That is the hope, of course, of all of us who have been here, for the last 3 years building in the blockchain and seeing how things go. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. Personally, I do have a little bit of concerns. On one hand, I think there's a lot of speculation, especially looking at this metaverse conversation around Bitmap. And, it is another metaverse kind of investing or getting the investment first and then building it out, using the investment that they get from people buying plots of land. And I appreciate that. And I think I wish them the best. I hope that it comes to fruition the way that they're kind of pitching it. So that's one concern, a little bit of speculation, not quite as much actual available metaverse space to explore in, but on the other side, I'm just curious about the overall impact to Bitcoin, and the idea that if these continue to be more and more popular, and these BRC20s, what we've seen is as they have a lot of action on the blockchain, the Bitcoin transactions cost a lot more money and they also take a lot more time to settle. So now you've gone from being a global currency where you're sending money really quickly for very little amounts, a couple dollars, you can send thousands of dollars to the other corner of the world. Now it's not quite as cheap and not quite as quick because of the BRC20s. So some might say it's negatively impacting the Bitcoin blockchain in general. And again, not really what Bitcoin was meant to be built for. So I'll end there. That's just a little bit of my thoughts around the BRC20 conversation and how the Bitcoin innovation is kind of taking off and where it's going from here. What's up, K-Bot? I see you in the metaverse. I wanted to be hanging out in my Web3 Warriors headquarters of the metaverse to start things off, but for whatever reason, the voxels wasn't quite loading up for me, so we're hanging out in the basement. But appreciate you all. Do jump into the metaverse if you can. Sign the guest book if you can. And with all that, that's my kind of rant about BRC20s and Bitcoin. I love to hear from Jigar and what's going on. So maybe before we dive into Bitmap, what else is new with you, Jigar? What's keeping you busy in Web3? And thank you for rejoining the show.
Thank you so much. Everything that you said, what the concerns were on Bitcoin is actually, I look at it as in a very bright or optimistic manner. And I'm excited about all that. It says that it's flipped. About the mempool, I think that was one of the cases. It gets very busy. I think that really it gives people to not put just anything on the Bitcoin. Something that they know that would create value. It has a control over it. Now, there was another point that you stated that Bitcoin was for hodling. It was since 2009, I believe. If I wasn't there since 2009, but since 2009, there have been a lot of people accumulating Bitcoin industries. The companies that weren't supposed to, weren't in that whole freedom of the whole Web3 way. The people who we were fighting or going against got into it, and everyone had the Bitcoin. But I think time has been beautiful. I think whoever Satoshi has planned everything so beautifully that this is how I look at it. It doesn't have to be how it is. But till now, since 2009 or whenever it started, people have been accumulated. Everyone got the freedom to jump in first, get it as much. And now it's time that it passes on. The economy has very beautifully constructed the whole part of it now funneling down to artists and creators who can now add value to it, make something on it, build on it, like Bitmap. Bitmap is one beautiful example. How the arbitrary data or how the blocks itself is taken and and made into something as a virtual land, where no one has any control on. Even Bitoshi, who put out the idea and the white papers, has no control over it, right? So I think there are very beautiful things that can happen. We haven't even gone in the arbitrary data, like all the other datas that is inside, that is in a transaction or a block, that is not controlled by any human aspect. It just it just uh, it it uh, it comes to fruition because of a transaction, and how much, and depends on how much time or what time or how busy the block is, which which creates that arbitrary data, and how that arbitrary data can be used for other things or other combinations and randomizations, like we had NFTs and trades in Ethereum, which again was controlled by a software or a person. But in this, the data is arbitrary. It's from the transactions, and no one has control over it. So I look at it as an abstract that was beautifully thought. I guess I think I it can be how do I'm in loss of words right now, but
I think you
it can be
acknowledge.
something that wasn't planned and it just came to this at this point. But for some reason, I think Satoshi had an idea of where this is, how this is going to lead at this point of time. But
yeah, I mean, and
that's
ultimately, it's I don't think there's any turning it back, right? And I had heard initially when this kind of started, and some people were grumbling about the impacts on the blockchain. They were saying maybe there'd be a fork, maybe they'd have to fork it. But ultimately, even if they did fork it, the developers are just going to find ways to inscribe on the new forked blockchain, right? So there's really no way around it. The developers are going to do their thing, and where there's investment and where there's a lot of interest, I think
there's
that
value,
it's going to happen.
where there's value,
yeah. Where there's value, right?
And,
for sure.
Yeah, and it's where there's value. You also see a big rush of people, like one major success story, and there's everyone jumping in. But because the mempool getting busy and the cost, there is a good filtration of people who have a community, who have an assurity of people to back them up, to have that kind of a reach. And reach in today's date, people in the last 3 years, 4 years understand now, they've seen people again and again coming and rugging them, so showing them false hopes and getting them, put their hands in their wallets. But now, after 4 years, people have been learning. So it is the whole way that it has been constructed from 21, at least, that is since when I've been in this space and been able to just sit back and watch this happen in front of me. I think it's beautiful how it's come down to here, is how I see it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So looking at kind of the Bitmap vision, right? Are you able to share just a little bit about kind of how you see that metaverse, coming to fruition, what you see as the vision? And I'm showing on the screen one of the impressive 3D builds. And shout out to Ingrid and MetaMix, and Kush had a good question in the chat, which we'll get to right away. But I want to hear your thoughts on, what's the vision of Bitmap, and what are you kind of seeing as you craft these interesting 3D builds that are, kind of working within the limitations of Bitcoin. But yeah, what do you see for the overall kind of vision of Bitmap?
So let's break it down. What is Bitmap? Bitmap is a number which is given to a block, like right from the first block that was minted or minted. No, I don't think minted. Like the first block, right from when Satoshi did his first transaction, to every block that's happening every 10 minutes or it's not exactly 10 minutes, is what I just learned yesterday from a very good friend, Rand. But
Nice.
Every block is given a number. And there is data in those. There are transactions in that blocks. There are data. There's like arbitrary data in every block. So now every block can be an IP for for any or an owner that can use that IP for his brand, for maybe an experience, maybe a product that he wants to put in the market. But and Bitmaps is making that as in a virtual experience, like a metaverse, taking that block. Because when you see the meme pool and when you see the block, this idea came from the meme pool. You see every block in the meme pool, they're orange squares, and
Yeah, visual representation of the mempool. Yeah.
And it looks like a district. When you see it, looks like a city map on a bird's eye view, and that is what got into existence. Actually, if you go down in the history lane, it was me and Bitoshi talking, and me telling him that how voxels are the very binary of 3D, which I've also mentioned here on, I think, on my first or second interview, if I'm not wrong. And that is what got him the idea while he was looking on the mempool space. And after 1.5 years today, here we are talking about it. So I'm proud of it. I think there's a tweet that Bitoshi also shared mentioning me. So I think I'm going to inscribe that screenshot as well someday soon.
There you go. But, oh man, that's fascinating. So you can actually, like, you're not officially part of the leadership team for Bitmap, but you were kind of part of the initial inception. You can lay claim to that.
I can. I'm proud of it.
That's exciting, man. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize you had that direct connection like that. So that's cool. That's cool. So Kush had a great question. Looking at the 3D builds, right, and the idea that you are limited by the file size for BRC20s, how did you kind of overcome the block size challenges? And because you have videos on your Twitter, which I was just showing a little bit of, kind of showing what an experiential space might look like, with these assets being set up. So how did you do that, first of all, to Kush's question? And then I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of how this metaverse space comes to fruition. But yeah, how did you get around the file size limitations?
Cool. So I've always been in 3D designing. It's been 7 years now. First the 3D printing, then the metaverse. So the first half of this whole journey, this artistic journey I started 7 years ago, was getting designs more details and more heavy and everything. So in this whole research of getting into 3D printing, I got to know like what all little things affect the size of a file, and this experience of file. So that is what, and even after knowing about bitmaps and all the assets people started putting on in as inscriptions, I took my time. I tried to, break down every vertex, every edge or every face that 3D designs have, and how much it affects the weight or the size of the file. And I had to, do everything from scratch, decimal by decimal, face by face, and it works. And it took me time. It took me actually 4 months to again go back to every design and break it apart. And when I did it, I was working in voxels, which was again like I said, the binary of 3D designs. But being in GL in a voxel file, it still used to be 1 MB or 2 MB, but being in wanting to inscribe it on Bitmap, Bitcoin, it needs to be smaller, every kilobyte counts. So these 4 months, I broke everything down and got designs down to 115 KB, my first inscription. And that cost me like $1,500 or something like that. But then I did not give up. I kept working on it, and now I am getting even more detailed designs down to 20 KB. And it's something that I never thought I could. I could have given up at 150. I was doing good with that.
I can't even imagine how a 3D build comes like 120 kilobytes. Like that's literally nothing.
So I broke it down to 20 kilobytes.
20 kilobytes. So oh my gosh. Sheesh. That's wild, man. So this latest, the dome one that you built, is that one? What's the kilobytes on that one?
That's 23 KB.
20?
Yes. 23.
Man, 23. Yeah. Wow. That's epic, man. So what exactly, what program are you using to kind of carve out?
Blender.
Just
Blender. It's
Blender,
always
and
been
they're able to
Blender. Since the
render
first
as
day,
low as 23 kilobytes.
yes,
Holy
sir.
smokes, man, that's wild. That's impressive, bro. So to my other question, because I'm seeing these little voxel dudes walking around in a future Bitmap metaverse, how do you see that coming to fruition? And I'm assuming, like, I'm looking at it potentially, like you mentioned, voxels, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of metaverses out there on Ethereum. Shout out to Ethereum because they're way ahead of the pack. I don't think any other blockchain has even like one or two metaverses that are actually well populated. Ethereum has a whole bunch, but voxels, I've always said, is A, the most accessible because you can jump on it on your phone anywhere, but it's B, also the most on chain from my perspective, just because like every little asset can be minted as an NFT and sold and traded. Your actual plot of land is an NFT that can be bought and sold. And, it's got kind of that voxels. It used to be called crypto voxels, and it just seemed like a very obvious connection. So do you think that Bitmap would basically roll out in a similar fashion? Like, you're going to have a server space, you're going to require a little bit of 3D environment that people can kind of walk around in, and then you're talking about plots of land, you're talking about, which they are selling already, right, the actual plots of land. So you lay that all out in reference to the plots that have already been sold, and now you're start talking about putting these assets that you've created brilliantly at such a tiny scale into this kind of 3D world that, again, would have to be fairly light on file size and all of that, but ultimately allow for experiences in the 3D world. So how are you seeing that kind of come into fruition?
So this probably is going to amaze you. Like right now on the web, there is already a space that I've created, which the space itself, the experience itself is inscribed, is an inscription, is a code that brings in all various assets that I've inscribed separately on Bitcoin. So I don't know if you can go through inscribe.space on
Yeah,
your
for sure.
URL. I don't know if you check that out. The very third or the second, when you hit explore, I don't know, just let me know when.
Cool. Loading it up. Oh, it didn't work. Inscribe.space.
Uh-huh.
You want to drop the link in the chat maybe? We'll bring it up
Yes.
for everybody. It's giving me error message. This is cool though. I definitely want to check it out. Kush says that's mad. Sure. Kush is impressed with your 3D building at such a tiny file size.
It takes no space because what you will experience is just a code, and it'll explain everything. I think. I mean, you get an idea, and this is like a beta platform that the people behind Inscribe.space built like within 2 months, 3 months of Bitmaps coming out or started launching off the Bitmaps. Okay. And ever since that happened, they've already started working on their primary platform, and they're almost done. So they're already out with their inscribe.space. That's just a second. I'll have to, because I'm not able to move with my. Can I send it to you on Telegram? That's fine.
Yeah, sure. Telegram will work. When I do inscribe.space, it's saying error establishing a database connection.
There you go. I sent you the link.
So we get cutting edge stuff here. Loading it up. So as I load this up, you're foreseeing essentially this kind of platform being the official Bitmap platform, essentially?
So the crazy thing is that there are various platforms that are coming out building on the Bitmap white paper or the ideology, and it like I said, that number is yours. There's no one telling you how you can use your IP. Your Bitmap is what you make out of it. So everyone's. There are a lot of people working. You have Bitcoin I am so Chris working on Bitcoin Valley. We have Inscribe.space, who's working on Bitmap Land. We have our recursivers. We have a lot of people working, and at the same time, Bitoshi is constantly working, researching, and developing on his idea and building his own we are giving tools to these platforms or upcoming platforms to build on top of these. So yeah, so there's a lot. And Scribe.space, what we will be seeing right now in a minute. I don't know what. Are you
Yeah,
looking
I
at
just
it on the
got it.
screen?
Yeah, I'm on it now, and I found your pre-build there, so I am officially walking around in the future Bitmap metaverse. You've got some cool Minecraft sword. You got a little Satoshi dude or a floating Satoshi head. Can you fly in here
So
yet? No, eh?
this whole space is an inscription. It is just a code
Oh my
that doesn't
goodness,
have that.
man.
This particular inscription doesn't bear any of these assets. It's just pulling in assets and putting there in this virtual space, and it's
Oh.
not more than 3 KB or 4 KB, and that, my friend,
What? Sheesh,
that,
man.
my friend, will blow your mind. So
That is mind blowing. Three? No, come on, man. So like, all right. So obviously limited functionality a little bit here, but very much an immersive space. So how you're saying it's just coding? It's pointing to an asset in another location and just showing it on here because it looks
I
very
could
real.
share the same experience that you're having now, uh, as an NFT, as an NFT. Like, you have an NFT and you can actually go in there, look around, like a metaverse experience in that small 4x4 image that I can send you. If you want to share that, I could share that with you as well. But yeah, this is what exactly bitmaps and the power of inscriptions and recursive is a lot of is something that is mentioned ever since inscription happened, and that recursive, that small world, is very powerful. uh, it means that you could pull the things in these inscriptions. Like, inscription could be anything. It could be a code, it can be an image, it could be a 3D asset, it could be like a big software broken down, fractionalized, and separately put them in as different inscription, and then having a platform to bring them all in one to perform in a certain way. So by code, so solves it solves it's mind blowing. The more you think about it, the more I think about it, it just keeps making it just keeps things more excited. It
Yeah,
gives me more interest to
I
keep going ahead. Yeah.
I am impressed, I have to say, definitely. 20 minutes into this interview, and we're talking about immersive spaces being displayed on 3 kilobytes or less, and pulling in data from inscriptions and being able to actually hard code it together so you can, in theory, have a little bit of a higher what do you call it, something that might be a larger file size but broken down and fractionalized. So let's talk about the actual minting process then, because each Satoshi has pretty strict limits on the size, but as you just mentioned, you can kind of fractionalize something and then basically spread it out among many Satoshis.
Yeah, so
right?
I was basically the first person to have like a building inscribed on which like blew up the whole space that day. The day I was experimenting, I was very proud of what I've achieved. I then inscribed it, made it a BRC 420, and because I was working for 2 days straight on it, the next thing I know I passed out, and I woke up a different person.
You woke up with 664 sales on the Bitcoin blockchain. This amazing 3D build. So you can say that with pretty good confidence that you were the first to put a 3D build inscription on Bitcoin.
Yes, I was the one.
That's fascinating, man. That's honestly amazing. Congratulations, bro. So the actual mint, do you need like basically a developer friend to kind of help you get these things on the blockchain, or are you going to? There's this BRC 420. Sorry, I've been calling it BRC 20s. BRC 420s .io. So there's BRC 420.io, and it looks like a platform that actually allows you to kind of deploy and create BRC 420s, right? Or BRC 20s.
Yes, so
they're called BRC 20s, aren't they? Is this just the name of the site? Is
they
BRC
are BRC
420?
20s now. So BRC 20 is the inscription, and then BRC 420s is what gives it supply. Like, it points to the BRC 20, and you can have a supply, like a bigger number to it, so that not every time you need a build, not every time it's just a one of one. More people can use this, and the person who's building can also decide that how many people can use it. So BRC 420 is a protocol that adds supply to the
Amazing.
inscription.
Thank you.
To
Thank you
it.
for clarifying that for me. So the mint, how did the mint happen and how easy or difficult is it?
It's pretty easy. You inscribe that Unisat wallet has a website. I can share the steps. I have Bitoshi's.
Yeah, I did set up a Unisat wallet because there was some website where they gave you the option to kind of share your wallet and they're going to airdrop. Apparently, can you airdrop on BRC20s too? The same way?
You can airdrop on BRC20s.
Yes. So I have at least done that first step. I have a Unisat wallet, so I have step one done, but I have yet to collect any inscriptions. And like I said, I have a hard time spending Bitcoin, especially right now as it's seeming to move in the upward motion. But we'll see.
I seem to have loosened up a little bit lately, but yeah.
I'm trying to hodl on, but we'll see. Keep these diamond hands going. Okay, so not very difficult. Do you mint it right on the BRC 420 site, or where are you going?
You inscribe it on Unisat, like
on the Unisat directly, right on the wallet.
Yeah, so that'll be an inscription, and later on, then you can deploy it as a BRC 420 on the BRC 420 site, where you give it a name, where you give it a certain price and a number. But I believe it has lesser steps than I had to do when I had to mint an NFT on Ethereum. So I think it's way easier. It's a 3-step thing, and it's easy.
All right.
All you need to take care, what the price, the transaction fees going on the mempool at that point of time. And lately, it's been good. It's been pretty good lately. So
yeah. What was the cost on your initial, if you don't mind sharing, your initial build that you inscribed? How much Bitcoin did it cost you to inscribe it?
So the first inscription cost me. So the first build, I did experiment with smaller voxels files before. It cost me like $40, $30.
Okay.
But my first build was 115. I thought that was the lowest I could get, which I didn't stop later on. But that cost me like $1,500 at that point of time, because I didn't think the file size couldn't be any lower. But I proved myself wrong again later on. But now it's not that much. Now that I have further got it down to 20 KB, it's not that much. It's cheaper than my first Ethereum mint as well. So
really, so like less than $100, or like, what do you think?
Less than $20-$40.
Wow. But the one that you were at, what was this one? It was the initial one was 123, the one that you sold out on. So that one did cost you. You said about 1,500 to mint. Yeah. Okay. So it can get kind of steep for sure using the inscription.
But I knew, all the, like, I've been with Bitmaps before that day, before that very first inscription of that build I did was something on a piece of paper that you could read. Right. But that actually changed everything, putting a build and Bitmap or a building in inscription. But I think, it clicked, at that point of time, it really took it to the next level, is how I'd like to believe, at least, that no, this is not just something that on a piece of paper, that is possible. And then next, you just showed us the virtual experience that I built on inscribe.space. So yeah,
100%. Really impressive.
That is positive for me. Yeah,
I was missing the D on inscribe.space. That's all it was. So inscribed with the D .space. And I dropped the link in the chat, I believe, as well, or I will. Here we go. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing. This is really interesting. I feel like I'm getting a crash course. And the innovation in the BRC20 space, and now they have the BRC 420s, which allows for multiple editions. Very cool protocol. So they're out there building and innovating, and it's not going anywhere. So let's speak about that. That day after you had spent so much time and energy building your first build, you sold it out while you were sleeping. You wake up, you've got decent amount of Bitcoin. Now, how did that help you? How did that change your life? What's the impact? And how are you looking to kind of navigate the space now?
Believe me, like it was great. I have been trying to just relax, try to understand that now I have the opportunity to do something bigger, or just bring my beliefs and what I have aimed. It lets me think what next. I've tried to just and I've tried to go out in my own local place and see what I can do to support the community in my locality, in my city, as well as my friends who have been with me in the last 3 years. Middleton, our family, that our small family that we built of people from around the world, on Clubhouse with Los Lizzy and Kay Bayfield, and see how I could what next I could do for maybe music artists, because we are surrounded with an amazing talent in music, in 3D designing, as a developer in coding. We have Bitcoin audio. We have a lot of people that we've we've been here with, this whole journey, and I'm trying to see what next can I do to help everyone around, who are important, who have been important milestone in my journey, because I, being from this small little place in India, it it wouldn't have been possible, me being here, being so positive today, without these people. So I want the same success that I've had for a lot of people, other people who are passionate like me, who have the energy to do something better for the people. And yeah, that's so I'm taking my time and understanding. I'm also developing on my ideas. I've always had my own dream project that I've been working on the side. I think I mentioned that to you as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just trying to be humble at the same time, because I've seen a lot of people lose a lot at these crucial times in their lives, when everything, it
It can
looks
be tough,
wonderful, but
Yeah.
one small mistake can do blunders. So I'm trying to take my time and be humble and remain humble and be helpful and useful as much as I can. So yeah, that
Amazing.
that is my hope so far, for sure.
Dropping gems. You touched on a lot that I want to focus on, but I don't want to gloss over the fact that you are taking this opportunity to kind of give back to your community, right? We've seen this a lot across different Web3 projects, different NFT projects. Shout out to Owo with the Afro Droids and Kofi out there in Ghana. We've talked to many people who, they find some success. They're able to make, some amount of revenue that actually is life impacting, and they decide to give back to the community. So now you're seeing making sales on the blockchain, not just helping them individually to, pay bills, cover life expenses, whatever the case might be, but actually being able to give back to the community. So now that impact from the blockchain is reverberating out into the community for people who might have no idea what NFTs are, no idea what the metaverse is even about still, so talk to that just a little bit more. What exactly are you doing, and how important is it to kind of give back and to have that social impact angle when finding success in the NFT space?
It is very important, because this success, like everything, is not like, things keep changing, and if you want this success to be, you cannot sit or stop at one thing. You have to find ways where more people can build, or else it's not. I think, at least I believe, it's not going to be a positive impact on my life. I'm not going to It's not going to be a positive impact on my life, or if I don't create something positive for others around me who helped me, if I don't recognize the things that brought me here, then I don't think I there's anything good that I can do of it for myself. Even things happen, and shit, and everything flips in matter of seconds, is what I've learned in life. So I want to be responsible. My city is has beautiful talent. Last 6 months, I've made sure that, while things were not perfect, on the space was slow, the Web3 space, while Ethereum, Bitcoin, everything was slow, I made sure I got out, met people, met other talents, and build with them. So, and my city has Asia's top fine art colleges and performing art colleges, and a lot of those students don't know where to go after that. They have that, reputed college certificates, but once colleges are done, they're not much people, not much places. A lot of students end up in. So try to see where where I can be a part of that whole in the life and change. And we're having events. We already had a couple of events that were pretty successful. And when I say successful, they were events that people enjoyed, and then there was an emotion of being together, of not knowing each other. It still felt warm, and that's what I meant.
You're
That'd be
kind
what
of
I meant.
creating an artist collective, essentially, right?
Yes.
Like an artist collective
So
or a community of all these fine artists. That's amazing, man. And are you kind of tacitly recommending or mentioning NFTs or the blockchain as an
not at
option,
all.
or you're just like,
Not at all.
if they ask
Not at all.
you, you'll let them know, but you're not there with any kind of
No,
intention
I
of
see. I think
advocating or being a blockchain evangelist, like
no. I
Low
think
Sleazy.
I see. Being from a third world country, I think we do not have that. The first thing is none of the artists have had the freedom to just create whatever they want. I was also, for a lot many years, I was what I what I did or what I made was someone else telling me. Either someone was giving me a commission work, or or the trends, the market was telling me what to make. And and again, coming back to Iron Man, stopping everything and making something that I wanted to make. It really gave me more ideas, like focusing on what creating something. It gives you the time to ponder around the other things happening in your life. So it gave me the time to direct my life towards creating what I want to create. And I think uh, it is very important to first bring these creatives at that point where at least their environment or their their life is not controlling what they're creating or what they want to make. But first come to a stage where they're free to be themselves and then create, because I think that is more important than getting in the blockchain or just getting them in to have a personal benefit, to have like a following. I think that's it's happening step by step, I think.
That's amazing, man. And I really think it's been kind of a recurring theme of our conversations, honestly, that the freedom of expression and the ability of kind of breaking out of whether it's a corporate, rat race where you're building whatever random thing they're asking you to build, or even something more creative and interesting like being on a movie set or something, but still you're kind of limited to what you're going to create, right? And really just embracing free expression and free creativity, and the fact that that's your main focus in this collective is really cool. And if people want to hear about what you're building on the blockchain, want to hear about how you've created opportunities for yourself in the metaverse on the blockchain, I'm sure at that point you'll let them know and offer the education and maybe send them over to Twitter or Clubhouse to connect with others in the space, right? So that's amazing.
And also, I think that what I've seen in these last 3 years, that artists, if they do not have confidence on their art, they start hyping the platforms, and they think that the platforms are what is driving their art or their life. But I think, for me, I've never given importance to the platform. I've gone from Ethereum to Tezos to Bitcoin, from fake rares to everything now on BRC 420. Tomorrow, I know BRC 420 could also make a mistake or do one big, because money is something that makes you slip sometimes. And these platforms, every now and then you see OpenSea, Sidetrack, you've seen all these platforms. If the artist, I want to build confidence, and these artists have faith in their art more than these platforms. And I think that is very important before these artists are brought onto these platforms, so that they value their art, and the people they're presenting it to also focus on the art rather than the platform, because platforms again are the middlemen. And if we continue to give them the credit for all these transactions to happen, then I think we are going to end up in the same space that we were before. So yeah, that's how I
That's
think, at least.
another gem right there for sure. And the art is more important than the platform, 100%. And to your point about being kind of blockchain agnostic, right? If you hadn't been open-minded to other blockchains, to other, new things that are coming out, new innovations, you wouldn't have necessarily seen this Bitmap opportunity and actually be part of its fruition, right? Like you said, hey, I think we can make this happen. I think we can create 3D assets that are small enough to actually be inscribed on a Satoshi, and I'm going to make it happen. And you take the initiative and you do it, and then you go to sleep and you wake up with a whole bunch of Bitcoin in your wallet, So that's amazing, man. That's what it's all about. And like you said, being open to opportunities means you can't be thinking that you need X platform or you need X blockchain or you need X community to help you, do this thing. You got to just build and keep building and keep your kind of options open. And yeah, these things happen. And congratulations, man. That's amazing. And that's what Web3 is all about. It's what the creator economy on the blockchain is all about. So I did want to ask you, I was curious because I've noticed there is pretty serious targeting to the Chinese community looking at BRC20s and specifically Bitmap. There seems to be a lot of interest from the Chinese community, which is awesome. Web3, a global space, that's what it's all about. We've obviously heard a lot of misinformation out there about crypto being banned in China, even where they have, restricted certain access. But clearly, I think I saw something in the news just last week that I think last month there was about $90 billion in transactions just on Binance alone in China. So obviously there's a whole lot of people either doing criminal activity or doing some kind of gray area activity where they're actually approved. So how do you see that, and why is the Chinese community so interested?
Maybe I live close to China, but the best example I can give you is that the city I live in, the state I live in is a dry state. I live in the state where Mahatma Gandhi was born, and we don't get alcohol over here. But in the whole of India, alcohol must be sold the most in Gujarat. I mean, in the state that I live in.
Wow.
Why? Because it's banned. It's even better if people feel like doing things that are banned more than the things that are not. So I wouldn't be surprised with that, because I think.
So you think on one hand, the fact that it's banned might actually be encouraging, the rebels out there to participate.
They're like, why is it banned? Why don't these people like this? We don't even know this, and it's banned. And that's probably something we should know about. So yeah, I think everything works out at the end of the day. Cool. And I found that the guys from the Chinese community, because a lot of my sales was collected from the Chinese communities, that they really appreciate design, they really appreciate functionality, utilities, and they're very enthusiastic about the blockchain. So I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I had read somewhere that they actually have like some small flexibility in what they can collect, and so that these BRC20s, because there's no actual legislation on them, because they're not like your standard digital assets on Ethereum or other blockchains, that they actually have a carve out. And so apparently that may also be impacting it, that like those investors that want to speculate and invest in the blockchain then can't do it on Ethereum for whatever reason, actually are able to do it here in a kind of gray area. So yeah, it's interesting. I just think it's interesting how geopolitics plays a role. It's interesting how different corners of the world are focused on different corners of the blockchain, and really different innovations. I don't think that the BRC20s are taking off quite to the same extent in the West and in Canada or in America, North America, especially the metaverse side of it. But that's awesome that China's kind of on the wave, and that there's a lot of innovation happening that is going to happen no matter what. Like, that's what I love about it. It's like, it's not reliant on the West. It's not reliant on, the quote unquote influencers making things cool. It's like, there's innovations happening. There's people in the world that want to see it succeed, and, they invest in it. So that's really amazing. So do you think that Bitcoin can still be a global currency, or do you see kind of these innovations hampering kind of the straight peer-to-peer payment option for the reasons I mentioned earlier, and you've acknowledged, the mempool can get pretty backlogged, the transaction speed can slow down quite a bit, it can become more expensive. Do you think that the global currency argument, or the kind of those who want it to be the global currency, the next global basically dominant currency in the world. Is that still an opportunity, or do you think that it's less of a likelihood because of these
I don't think we need to think that. I think it is a global currency because we have been transacting on this. And lately, like I said, I've been transacting a lot on Bitcoin. So yeah, and I have collectors from around the world, from China, US, and for me, I don't even need to think. It is
It's not a matter of becoming; it's already the case, right?
Yeah, it's already a global currency for me. So
I dig it. I dig it.
I'm game. I'm game for it.
Awesome, man. I've been on the fence, I would say, on the whole conversation. I'm still not sure I'll be able to spend my Bitcoin on it, but I'm definitely here for the innovation, and I'm here for the opportunities. You know, you mentioned Kane Mayfield. That was another thing out of your response there that I wanted to talk to. NFT music, right? Because of the file size limitations, you can't really do music or videos and kind of that higher quality of art, or not even higher quality, but the higher volume, or something that's going to be a lot more higher on the file size, essentially, on the blockchain. So how do you see things like NFT or music NFTs or videos in the BRC conversation happening? Like, do you think that eventually there will be a new protocol that supports larger file sizes or supports audio? How do you see that kind of growing and evolving?
I see a lot of development happening while we are speaking. I think because of AI, the technology, the speed of the technology that it's growing is fast. It's you can miss these days technology like that. You know, it's growing crazy. So I definitely am positive. Like we mentioned, Kane Mayfield, he's gathered a group of developers. I know someone who has the owner of Bitmap is working on Blake that is also focused on musicians on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I am pretty positive. Yet we haven't seen. We have a couple of files that have been inscribed, music files that have been inscribed, but the quality has been down. But again, I think like yesterday, before I made the 3D design, I wasn't the first one to inscribe. At least, you know, I inscribed that building 9 months or probably 11 months after inscription was a thing. And no one thought about it. I think that if someone would have thought about the way that I did it, probably someone else would have inscribed that before me. So I think it's a matter of time that some new development happens, and all of a sudden we'll have an inscription or a musician wake up with a lot of sales that day. But
No doubt.
I think it's just a matter of time is how I see it.
The first definitely successful, good audio quality inscription is going to go gangbusters as well.
Exactly. And
that's awesome.
A lot of people, talented artists that are working on this. So
yeah, well, if Kane's got a gang of developers working on it, I'm sure he might be working on being that first one to really successfully do it. But like you mentioned, audio is one area where you do not want to degrade the quality for anything, right? It's like, I get there's certain threshold that you can probably get down to and still be okay, you know, good audio quality, but once you're below that, it's like you don't want to be listening to really scratchy stuff.
You could break it down like a virtual space that could bring different assets. You could have like the vocals in an inscription, you can have the instruments in separate, and you could bring it down to like one inscription and a player as well. So
you make that sound so easy. That doesn't sound like something that would be easy to do, but
I've broken some barriers, so maybe
no Jigar can do it. Anyone can do it. The music NFTs will be next for sure. Let's go. That's exciting, man. So I'm wondering, you know, because you are, like you said, open to all metaverse options. And last week, shout out to Charles Hexadize. We were talking about Nifty Island, and we kind of ran around there. It was a cool little space. Has a bit of a sandbox vibe, but very on-chain, very cool. Are you looking at any other metaverses that are kind of popping up? Anything new and exciting in the kind of overall metaverse space beyond Bitmap that you're also looking at or building in?
I have been hearing a lot about Nifty Island lately. I have been so engrossed in Bitmaps that I do need to take some time out with that. I see Ben from MetaVoxelz also trying to introduce new things on. I think today itself the site went down because there was some work, there's something happening. I have been I have been looking at these things, but not as much as I did before because I'm very engrossed in bitmaps right now. There's a lot of development happening. So, because not being from a technical background, I also am constantly looking at other technical people, what they're doing, and how I can take something from that and uh, comprehend or add that to my work or my workflow and take it to the next level there. So, but I know I do need to take some time out and see what the other platforms are doing.
Right.
But right now, very British or bitmaps, like you see.
Yeah, for good reason. For good reason. Keep plugging away. You're a lead innovator in the bitmap space. Shout out to K Visuals as well. I've seen him doing some pretty cool builds as well. And yeah, that's amazing, man. Just wondering, like, how do you see the whole thing evolving from here, right? So like, how many other builders are there, for example? So there's yourself, K Visuals. Is this like, are you looking to create kind of a team of builders for Bitmap, or are other people kind of seeing what you've done and running with it? How do you see that kind of evolving?
I am trying to promote it as my work as much as possible. I am trying to shout my success as much as possible. People don't usually do that, but I am in seek of more and more artists than DJs to enter, so that there is that, like I said, I see value in art. I see value in being creative, having the energy to do something, think out of the box, do different things, than work differently than how things have been happening in the past in Web 2, where the artists were pushed aside and the mediators were the ones making more out of that. So I am in constant trying to promote however I can, get as many artists, and I have got in touch with a bunch of artists and
Cool.
trying to get them onboarded. Yeah,
well, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's a wave. I think we're gonna have a wave of 3D architects in the Bitmap and Bitcoin space, or BRC20s, BRC420s. So one other thing you mentioned that I think is a really important piece for all the other creators out there, people seeing an opportunity like this where it's paid off for you and worked well. As you mentioned, though, you got to stay humble, and things can change tomorrow, right? Especially in this space. I think, we talk about the volatility of the crypto space. That definitely extends into the volatility of the NFT space, and even metaverse investments, I think, can be somewhat volatile as well. So what's kind of your best kind of advice for people that either find success in the space, or maybe enter at the wrong time when it's at the lows and can't find success? How do you deal with the volatility of the industry, and how are you kind of preparing for any likelihood? And yeah, just what's your advice around that issue?
I'd say start small, try to help others as well as you grow. It really, this world is crazy. It's a network of people. You don't it just help grow. And if you cannot at times, they're not always you can help yourself, but those are the time when you can look around and see other people who you can be in their shoes and try to help them wherever possible. So keep this world is changing right now. It's the creator economy. I think that it's we are at a point where things can go upside down. That the whole balance can flip. So I think being a good person, being helpful, being a community person, will help. It's at least how I am trying to move ahead, recognizing the people, making sure I know that I do not just give myself credit for this whole journey or where I am today. Go back and at least try to see who I can help, and that is again not something because I want to look like a great generous person, but time and again life has proved to me that everything comes back. It is a selfish act where I just know that if helping others can later on come back and help me in at some point of the time, because it's all a crazy network of people and energies. So that's what I'm trying to do and try to be as loud as possible so that other people can also do the same and reach where I cannot reach. So Yeah, that's how I am, at least.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, comes back around, right? It's that karma or just good deeds, being able
Well, the
to.
energy, it's a network, and you don't even, once you do something, you don't need, once that energy leaves, you don't even need to see, you don't see the magic that happens, how it magnifies and it comes back. And I think the space, being patient and being having faith in the things that I've made and the love that people have given me, I think I've learned, I've seen that happen for me, and I want others to feel it too. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. That's what's up. So I'm walking around again in your inscribe.space area. It's such a cool, immersive bitmap beta space. How are you feeling about the timeline for an actual bitmap space that's kind of live where people are using their plots? Do you have any sense of that, or do the bitmap team at the top have any sense? Yeah.
It's almost out. We already have the avatars out. So what you see right now, the next platform is going to be multiplayer. Their avatars are already out. They have one. They have a demo site where you can all jump in with the avatars and walk around. But it's still we're almost there. I think another 15 days or two,
Oh, wow.
and we'll have a new platform that will be running on recursive inscriptions completely.
That's
And
amazing.
start from there, like it's just building from there, right?
Yeah, and so you're kind of taking the voxels approach where you're gonna kind of build IRL, like not IRL, but in real time is what I meant, and actually allow people to kind of see as the development is happening. And obviously there's going to be kinks in the initial times kind of rolling out, but let it evolve naturally. And so you're taking kind of that voxels approach, you think?
It has evolved naturally, and I think my last few designs are not voxels, but still keeping in mind the basic that I had, the idea or that I had for voxels, being the binary, like keeping it as compact as possible, but at the same time making sure it's better. I think I've evolved from voxels to to the designs you see now. It's not voxels, it's the next level is what I think. So you definitely see growth in, and the next level of whatever I've done so far is how I can put it, I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But that beautiful voxels plot is not being ignored, though, right? How are you feeling about voxels, and how are you feeling about voxels in general, and really, I guess, the Ethereum side of the metaverse evolution? Are you excited about anything? I think they've been talking about adding the new engagement options where you're actually able to engage with certain assets in the metaverse and press buttons and things like that. Have you heard anything new about that? Are you excited about anything kind of coming out in voxels?
I haven't. Like I said, I've been looking at things, hearing things, but not as much as I did before on that sites. But Voxels is where it has a soft. I have a soft corner for Voxels, so it's a place where I started, and not just started. I've had wonderful experiences building for Los Lizzy, Emanate, Money B, thanks to you, Money from Digital Underground, and my own plot of land. My own parcel is very close to my heart. So definitely would be joining. It's just an expansion. Nothing I am doing from here on, or nothing I ever did was independent from the things I did before that. So it's all connected. It's going to be a journey.
To that point, you can actually connect them, right? Like I could see a beautiful marriage between Bitmap and Voxels in the future, where links can hop you over, from Voxels into Bitmap and vice versa. So it doesn't have to be a competition thing, right? Like that's that's super exciting. Right.
Like I said, not the platform. Do not fall in love with the platform.
That's just it, exactly.
How creative you can make use of these tools, right? So
just keep building, keep building. And I see you've got an awesome kind of voxel avatar dance set behind you over your shoulder. These guys keep catching my eyes. Well, thank you so much for this interview. It's always, eye-opening experience. Anyone in the chat, if you have any questions, we're going to be winding down right now. So make sure to ask them now, or wait until the next time we have Jigar on the show, which who knows when that'll be, but I'm sure it'll happen again. So I just wanted to hear, what's kind of around the corner for you, as you mentioned. It sounds like you're pretty much head down in Bitmap, but also building a collective of artists in India. So, it sounds like things are moving in the right direction for you. Is there anything specific kind of around the corner that you really want to highlight that we should be looking out for?
Group of artists here. I don't know. I would be sharing a lot of updates. We are having an event here locally in my city for where there are a bunch of people. I came across a bunch of people who have spent time building like a small forest with organic food and stuff, and we are holding events. I'm trying to use that place to meet more artists and help more artists.
That's awesome.
Grow. Then I'll be sharing more on that. On the other side, on bitmaps or inscriptions, I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to just help and see who else can add value and take this to the next level and maybe creative, think out of the box, and just taking my time, being calm and not making sure I don't make the wrong decision. I don't know.
You're doing good. I don't think you can make the wrong decision. I feel like
I'm just trying to relax.
Yeah, the trajectory that you've taken is very safe. I think keeping your options open, being aware that the market's volatile, things can change tomorrow, but you'll take the blessings when you get them and try to spread them out, right, and try to help others and show other opportunities for other people. So I mean, you can't ask for much more than that, I think. It's just really exciting to see how things are growing. And what about when looking at off-ramping? I'm always curious, especially in other countries, and I've heard different stories for India. How are the crypto regulations there, and how easy is it for you, like for example, when you sell a bunch of Bitcoin worth of assets, to actually off-ramp it and turn it into your local currency and see the value in those sales? Or maybe it's not necessary. Maybe you can spend the Bitcoin and get value out of it that way. What's it like for you there when you make sales like that and actually turning it into local value? Local currency?
It's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy. We do have a good amount of tax that is levied, but it's still progress by being in a country where for the last 9 years it was promoted as it was illegal. I mean, it wasn't like in white and paper. They always say it was like a gray area, gray market or something. But finally, like last year, they put tax on it, and and that, though it was a lot of tax, like 30% of tax on it, it still brought it from like a gray area to like a legitimate thing that you can transact in. So I think that's a big achievement. I've been associated with Colors of India from back in 21. We still have the group constantly working to promote, to find more artists over here, talk to the government, connecting with them. And the government also put out a paper of like 172 pages on the metaverse, showing as it's something that we are going to see in the future, which is going to happen. So I see this. I don't think there's anything that's going to be able to stop this wave at
Amazing.
Any point of time.
And so that Colors of India group is doing advocating specifically for artists in Web3 and NFTs, or just artists generally?
Artists in Web3, and also awesome. At the same time bringing awareness generally as well. So
amazing. Yeah, you're just firing on all fronts, Jigar. It's quite impressive, man. I always love to connect with you, and I think you've shared a lot of gems. I've learned a lot about Bitmap and the difference between BRC20s and BRC420s. So that's awesome. That's what it's all about. I want to give a shout out to the chat. We got lots of hellos. What's up, Idris? Thanks for dropping in. Amy, appreciate you. Thanks for dropping in. Kush, very impressed with your 3D builds. Shout out to MetaMix and Ingrid, Kbot. Appreciate you all. Thanks for dropping in. Next week, I will have to take the week off. I got a family engagement, so we'll be taking the week off, but I'll be back the following week. For those of you who are really excited to hear from Shreya, unfortunately, she had a family issue, so we haven't been able to connect and get that fashion conversation going, but she is building some really cool digital fashion that we're going to be interviewing her about and talking with her in the future, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you everyone for joining. Until next time, we'll catch you all in the metaverse. Jigar, any final words you want to share before we shut it down?
keep building, keep making things for the creative at least. Uh, keep be aware of the technology that's happening around you. You know, it's fast. It's picking up, and being aware, just being attentive of what's happening around you is very important at these times. Uh, love each other, just try to be kind to one another. It's we are at this time that kindness can do wonderful things, so be kind to one another. Don't click any links and just grow. I wish everyone
Amazing
yeah.
advice. Be kind. Don't click any crazy links. Also, don't get married to any platforms, any blockchain. You know, keep yourself
Absolutely.
open to all opportunities. You know, we're blockchain agnostic, we're platform agnostic, and that's how you get awesome opportunities like what Jigar's been able to find over in the Bitmap corner. And BRC20s are going to continue to innovate. That's what we've learned on this episode. Not going anywhere, and changing lives for the better for a lot of people. So amazing. Thank you again, Jigar. I appreciate you. Thank you to all of our viewers, all of our listeners. We'll be live on the podcast networks by tomorrow, and we'll be back next episode. Catch you all until then in the metaverse. Peace out, everybody.